vast multiverse.
Aloha! Welcome to today's presentation. I'm JayDreamerZ. Today we're going to be talking about the egg in the sky. Today, where I am, happens to be Easter. And so there's a lot of people out there doing Easter specials and breaking down how Easter's pagan and its roots and things like that. I pretty much hear those videos every year, so I thought I'd bring something a little different, a little special, and another fresh perspective on Easter. But not just Easter, but specifically the egg shape. The egg that's seen in the sky. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to touch on the egg shape, the doom shape from the Colburn Bible. We'll get into the cakes of heaven, the cakes that were baked for the Queen of Heaven, the moon, and the Artemis mission. We're going to get into quite a few things today. Hey, good to see you guys in the chat. I see everybody. If you guys get my attention in the chat by typing JayDreamerZ, then I can put your comment up on the screen. Just like CJC over here says hello at JayDreamerZ properly. And it highlights on my side in the chat. So I'll get right to the point. In antiquity, there were different shapes seen in the skies. There were many weird and anomalous shapes seen, but the prevailing and predominant shape that was seen high up in the sky towards the North Pole was this round red object that people once saw. They even saw it as recently as the Dark Ages, and it's been depicted in many images. I'll share some of those with you right now, actually. So let me go ahead and get some pictures pulled up here, and I'll share some of those images with you. That's one of my bookmarks. There we go. So over here off to the side, as I'm talking, you'll see many images, specifically those from the Middle Ages to the Dark Ages and so on, which will feature this bowl shape that's hanging in the sky. Sometimes it shows a hand coming out of it. Sometimes it shows an old man sitting in it, or sometimes it's Jesus himself sitting inside of this cosmic egg that is seen right here up in the top of the dome. I refer to this as the apex dome. Now, there's a lot of symbolism as this has been cartoonified over the centuries, and it has been changed through the telephone game of time, and people today have forgotten about it. This shape that I call the apex dome is a portion of the firmament that droops downwards towards us, effectively acting as an all-seeing eye. But it is also the cosmic egg, or the heavenly egg, or the egg shape that is seen above our world. From time to time, right now, we cannot see that egg shape because we do not see the firmament. We live in a time of the great dark, the great night, the great darkness that has fallen upon the land. And when people live during the time of the great darkness, everything goes dark. Everything degrades during this particular age. It gets worse and worse, darker and darker. It has an effect on us spiritually, physically, emotionally, and more. However, whenever the next cycle returns, which was the prior cycle, then we will live in the great age of light. It will be an age of light, and there will be pillars of geoplasmas that erupt from the earth itself. The earth will shed light on the firmament, and we will be able to see that which was hidden to us during this particular time. But you can see many different examples of this egg shape that is hanging down in the sky. Now, if you look at pictures, some of these pictures will feature the resurrection of Jesus. They will feature the baptism, etc. They will also feature the crucifixion and similar scenes. But I've found many different pictures of Jesus being sucked up into this egg shape in the sky, oftentimes showing his legs just kind of dangling, hanging out of the very firmament itself. And this is where Easter Sunday comes from. This is where the whole Easter resurrection and all of these stories, I believe, come from. And this is why we have these Easter egg hunts. It has nothing to do, by extension, because during the time whenever we have the great age of light, and all of these geoplasmas are erupting, and the sky rips open, and cosmic plasmas come down, the atmosphere becomes electrically amplified, which contributes to gigantic growth. So we have a lot of gigantic growth in this world. The plants grow to enormous sizes. We have flourishing of the plants and the animals. It becomes a golden age. And we have a lot of inner earth seeds that are blown up to the surface world, and they go all around the muddied surface earth, and many plants will sprout during this time. And that takes us to the time of Easter. Now, all of our major holidays, the 4 major holidays, which revolve around the solstices and the equinoxes, these are all strong potential times when prior apocalyptic cycles have occurred. Every time we go through an apocalyptic cycle, our calendrical system, our seasons, in effect, shift. They shift. So what is during this cycle considered to be winter will no longer be winter in the next cycle. It will shift by about 3 months. And every time it shifts, the apocalypse will happen during a different time of the year on our calendar. We will have to adjust our calendars because time itself is based upon the luminaries, which are created by this actual apex dome-like shape in the sky. This apex dome acts as a lens. So the cosmic plasmas that are swirling around our firmament, the light from those passes through this apex dome, and it scatters that light, creating stars and planets, projections and points of focus that we call the sun, the moon, the planets, comets, etc. in our sky. So you'll see some images of the apex dome over here. This is, to me, the great Easter egg hunt. People are constantly looking for gods who have lived and died and promised to come back and reappear, etc. And this egg shape that is hanging in the sky is a part of that. Now, some people had different names for that egg shape throughout antiquity. It's been cartoonified and personified, and there are stereotypical examples of it, and there are larger than life examples of it. There are fantastic examples within fantasy and fiction and sci-fi. This shape right here is actually what produces what we call the moon. So the moon is a projection of the apex dome, or that cosmic egg that is up there in the sky right now. We cannot see it, but during the age of light, whenever the earth shines light, which is the inner earth gases that are released during depressurization, they ionize, they become plasmas, and they light up the firmament, the world across. People will be able to look up and see the physical portion of the firmament. At the very least, they will definitely see the apex dome. So to me, that is the great Easter egg hunt. That is the great cosmic egg. But when that egg rips open, and it will, and I'll talk about the 2 different times which I believe the sky is going to rip open. One will be a man-made attempt, which has to do with the Artemis mission and the lunar missions that are up and coming. And one will be a natural event. The first, the man-made mission, will be much shorter. It will be a small cataclysm that will be, they will attempt to create a small rip in the sky that won't last for very long. And then we will have the natural apocalypse, the plasma apocalypse, where the sky will naturally rip open. That will last much longer. So approximately we'll have 3 days of darkness. That's the same thing that happened traditionally during the crucifixion of Jesus. So we had Jesus, who was put up on the cross, and he had the anode and cathode, or the 2 robbers, repentant and non-repentant, on either side. And he gave up his spirit, or afterglow, got sucked up into the heavens, up to this dome shape. You'll see some pictures of that here if I let it play long enough. And why? That's because the atmosphere depressurizes. So all of the atmosphere, all of the gases in our atmosphere will get sucked up towards that center point. Now that center point, that apex dome, is traditionally, especially within alchemical works, the place where God lives. That's where God is depicted as living. That is the heavens. That's the highest of the heavens, and it's got different sections to it and stuff. So there are different numbers of heavens if you count sort of tiered shape of this egg up there in the heavens. But that's where they will write the Tetragrammaton. That's where they will write the name of God, is right there in the middle of this dome shape that sort of hangs down and droops down directly underneath the tree of life, as you can see here in this drawing. And you can see it up here too. See how they write the tetragrammaton? Yod, He, Vav, He, up here right in the middle. So many people mistakenly think this is the sun, but it's not the sun. We see a dome shape, but we want it to go all the way around so people envision a circular object. And people will, in the time to come, envision a circular object. They will see whenever the apex dome returns, and it will glow a red color too. That has to do with the color that hydrogen ionizes, or the color of ionized hydrogen, which is going to be way up there towards the top. But the people who don't understand that this particular perspective on cosmology will likely look up to the heavens and see some circular or egg-shaped object, and they are programmed to believe that it's going to be, everything up there must be spherical. It must be a ball shape. So many people will look up and see Nibiru. They will see Venus, or they'll see some sort of planet that has suddenly made an appearance, or maybe because it showed up so quickly, it can't be a planet. It's got to be the mothership. It's got to be aliens or the like. This is the Great Egg, and this is the Easter egg hunt. The Easter egg hunt in itself is just tradition, over time. All of these holy days, these set apart times, they were originally to observe and revere and to fear and prepare for a possible apocalyptic event. Ancient people knew the times of the year that it may occur, that it's likely to occur, the times when it's most likely to occur. But they could never pinpoint which year it was going to occur. They never knew, when this was going to happen. So they established a routine. At these times, every year, we need to gather together. We need to light candles. We need to have bonfires and fires that are strong enough, or candles that are strong enough to last for days, specifically at least 3 days, because there would be 3 days of darkness. Just as there was darkness whenever Jesus was crucified, darkness spread across the land. So this is the cosmic egg. You can see Jesus hanging down from it right here in the sky. Oftentimes, the inner portion will be red. This is why people paint Easter eggs. This is why they feel compelled to decorate them and stuff, is because the quintessential Easter egg, quintessential means 5 or 5th essence. So it's the 5th essence, or the 5th element, which is plasma, which is why it's glowing this particular color. So we have the ruffles around the edge of the egg. This is going to get into Humpty Dumpty symbolism and what Humpty Dumpty actually physically is. He's the egg up there in the heavens, sitting on the wall of our world. Okay, the wall being the firmament itself. Humpty Dumpty is the hump in the sky that dumps whenever the sky breaks. That particular apex dome portion, it has the potential to break off and to actually fall down and break around the Arctic Circle, causing icebergs and glaciers and the like of fresh water from the heavens. So we also have this blue cloud. You'll also notice it's usually kind of ruffly looking around the edges. This is why Humpty Dumpty wears that ruffly collar quite often, especially in antiquity. Nowadays, people don't wear ruffly collars, so they'll have Humpty Dumpty wearing more modern clothes, but they almost always pop his collar or have a huge collar around his neck, or sometimes they'll take his belt from his pants and put it way up here, all the way around. Those are the frilly clouds that appear around this apex dome shape in the sky. It also gives off light. So there were many different suns, many different gods in antiquity. This is one of them. And when this sun disappeared, it was known as the missing sun. Many of them were actually. But this was the North Star. This is the only physical star that exists in our world, as it's physically a portion of the firmament itself. It's the Death Star. You can see it here in Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden, right? So you can see it kind of opened in the middle, and it's a bowl shape. Now, when it cracks open, our world depressurizes. When the cosmic egg cracks open, it's a creation event, which is also known as a destruction event, because the creation and the destruction, the beginning and the end, are the same. It just depends on perspective and which side of it you're on. Or if you're on both sides of it, you might have a completely different and unique perspective on it. This is sort of the tear shape that I was talking about. It's more likely closer to that than it is a perfect egg shape. But anyways, this shape, this egg in the sky, was seen by many different people. In the Colburn Bible, it was actually referred to as the doom shape, which the word doom is directly related to our word for dome. Doomsday is the day that the dome cracks open. When that dome cracks, because it projects its own image into our sky that we call the moon, you will see the moon split. You will see the moon crack in half. Actually, there have been many times, just like this picture shows, where people have reported seeing these cross-shaped objects, not just in the sky, as pillars and beams of light may also take the form of cross shapes, or tent pegs, or nails, or Ys, or hammers, or scythes, or scythes, other tools and swords and stuff like that. But the apex dome as well. So the doom shape is the dome, and the day of the dome, that's the day that the dome is revered or feared, and people bow down and they fall down to the ground because there are worldwide earthquakes, as the inner earth is also depressurizing. All of those inner earth gases that have been building up for 1,000 years will be released, erupting, shooting up, spreading the earth apart in different places, opening up canyons and gashes and sinkholes the world across. Many places will just fall right into the earth as these inner earth gases spread the earth out, as the earth grows, and these inner earth gases are released. Now, this is the day of the dome. It is Dome's Day. That is why it is called doom. People say doom and gloom. The word gloom doesn't mean sad or down or depressing or whatnot. It actually means the glowing. When people saw the sky glowing, they knew that it was going to be a gloomy time, a time of monsters and magic and mayhem and survival and really living. Depends on your perspective. Some people might see things like that as scary and they don't want to live through it, and they'd rather, sit here during the age of technology in a flooded world, and this is comfortable to them. That's okay. I understand. My perspective is the age of magic, whenever our sky is energetically amplified, is an exciting time. These are the times to really live. These are the times when you get to define yourself, when you choose your own adventure, where you go where you'd like to go, say what you like, be who you like with no repercussions whatsoever. We truly go back to living according to the laws of the land. Now, in many of these pictures, you can see these examples here. I've made some videos that feature many of these pictures too. Oftentimes you'll have a king, you'll have Jesus, you'll have God at the top, you'll have the disciples. All of these are highly symbolic. You'll have the two pillars on either side here. You'll have a cosmic bird, a bird of creation, sometimes a dove. It is the spirit of the Lord. Now, speaking of that, 50 days after today, 50 days after Easter, we have another holiday which is known as Pentecost, which in Latin means to count to 50. Penta means 50, and cost means to count. So the ancient people would count 50 days after they would see that afterglow get sucked up into that egg, or up into the heavens, or the resurrection, etc. They would count 50 days later, and they expected these celestial winds to sort of blow across the land. When this happened, it wasn't just wind, but it was energetically amplified wind, or it was the atmosphere that was energetically amplified or electrified. And when this happened, it resonates throughout all life forms. So biblically speaking, when the apostles went through the day of Pentecost, they all became telepathic. They could all understand all the other people that were speaking in different languages when they shouldn't have. They understood what each person was saying, and they heard them, according to the Bible, in their own language. This is the definition of telepathy, which I believe to be the original language of the world. The true language, if you will, is being telepathic. is an extreme empathy, is a feeling that you get where you can almost see what someone else is seeing or thinking or feeling, and you experience, what someone else is sort of experiencing. But anyways, here's some more pictures of the frilly cloud around the neck of Humpty Dumpty, who sits up on the wall. And I'm going to share some more pictures here too. Let me see what else I've got for you guys. I want to talk about the moon. I want to talk about the apex dome's relationship to what we call the moon today, because it's very important given the times that we live in and what's happening in the news, the moon missions, the Artemis missions, why they're suddenly getting back into that, and what they're really actually working on and doing. So I'm going to switch this up, take that down, and I will share some web pages here. Maybe if I can figure out how to do it. There we go. Okay, cool. So within the Bible, just biblically speaking, but you can find many examples in other places as well, we have stories about the ancient people that would bake these cakes to the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven is the apex dome, that same egg shape in the sky, the egg representing fertility and new life and birth and things of that nature. So some people would see that shape, they would personify it as a woman or a female. Some people would see it personified as Mars or male or things like that. Excuse me. And the same thing goes with other ancient gods and goddesses too. Okay. It's not that they were hermaphrodites. It's not that they were physical beings that had different parts or whatever. It's that the perceptions of the people and the effect that these anomalies and phenomenons would have on the land and the people and stuff, people determined it was more masculine or more feminine or whatnot. But ultimately, people tended to see that as like a giant breast in the sky or the mother goddess or whatever that hung down from the sky. At least that was, one perspective from different regions, especially in the Middle East, right? In ancient Mesopotamia. So anyways, people would bake these cakes and they would set out these cakes. These were hot cross buns. That's one way to call these. They are Samhain soul cakes. That's another way to say it. I know that's not how you pronounce that word, but just to make it easy on you guys. But we also have these types too. Oftentimes they were just circular or dome-like shaped, like buns, and then they would have a cross right in the middle of them. Why is that? The reason for that is because that egg shape, this egg shape right here in the sky, it doesn't look like an egg, okay? But you know what I mean? Like that's what it's come to be personified as or cartoonified as. It's reflective. You have to remember that. So the land that is directly below this, and remember, this is at the true north, or the center of the world in the sky, which is actually magnetically charged south, and the north is directly below it on the land. It would reflect the land below it. And the land below it looks like that. It looks just like these cakes. It's the Garden of Eden. The terrestrial paradise on Earth is directly below this egg. So when this egg cracks open, a dragon comes out, or many dragons, many serpents, many seraphim, many fiery serpent-like beings, or entities, or spirits, or angels, or demons, or however you'd like to see it. What it is the plasma from the other side of our dome, the other side of the firmament, that's swirling around, now entering as the door has opened, and it will slither through and come out, and the plasma filaments, just like hair or just like cheese through a cheese grater, will come out of the openings and the holes in this cosmic egg. And people have seen it slithering around in the sky, undulating above them. And they refer to those as dragons and fireworms and seraphim and fiery serpents, etc. And they would bite people or sting people, which is an electrical shock. Now, if you were lucky enough to be shocked by the smaller ones, because they'll get smaller as they come down towards the surface, but there are anomalies of very large ones that will touch the surface and terraform this world. I actually recently visited the Garden of the Gods this weekend I'll be editing some videos for you guys and showing you. We were out practicing, getting footage and using the drone and stuff for my new show, Chasing the Apocalypse, where I'm going to be going from country to country and place to place in search of evidence for the plasma apocalypse itself. So I started right here at home. I'll be sharing some of that with you guys in the near future, probably next weekend, I'm guessing. But anyways, ancient people would see dragons in the sky coming on down from this cosmic egg, which is right above the tree of life. So the tree of life is a beam of geoplasmas that shoots up from the largest opening in the earth, which is at the navel of the earth. And it created the axis mundi, or the axis of the world, or the one world pillar, the world tree, the central one, the largest one, a beam of ionized gases from within the earth shooting straight up and then wrapping around this egg, almost holding it. This was Atlas that was holding up another world in the sky, and also holding up at the same time, because it's connected to the firmament, the sky itself. This is literally a portion of the firmament that droops down. So people would see that pillar of light, that beam of light, shoot up and then spread out, almost holding or revering this cosmic portal, this egg, this world, the moon, etc., and so on and so forth. All right, let me share these pictures again here. Not those ones. Let me jump in the chat. I want to see what's up to everybody in the chat real quick, since, we are live streaming. Let's see. I'm just going to go to the first highlighted comments I see. We got, what's up? Who is that? Hold on. What happened to my comments? There we go. We got Philip Adoc, who says, what's poppin'? Hey, what's up, dude? Hollis Sarcom says, if you look at Saruman's wand in Lord of the Rings movies, he's got a pyramid with an egg at the apex pointing outwards. I never noticed that. I'll have to look for that next time I watch it. What's up, Tammy George in the chat? Good to see you. Mary Jones is in the chat saying, that's not an egg, that's God's finger poking through the firmament, warning us to straighten up. Yeah, it looks like I got some sun from being out at the Garden of the Gods all day. Hey, you like my shirt? Thank you. This is the Mesopotamian tree of life. But let me see if you guys you can see that right there. That's what it looks like. All right. Anyways, what else we got? Let me jump into the chat here. We got Planexistence, who says Jay should have millions watching his content. Dude is tapped in. That was nice. I like reading comments like that. Thank you. Thanks for all the thumbs up. X Trim Reaper X. Appreciate all you guys and your likes and shares and all that fun stuff. Land on the moon. We landed on the moon. That's so hilarious. All right, cool. We got anything else? Let me see. We do. Electric Camel 33 says, Winjo is a friend I see on another channel. Okay, sweet. Looks like you guys are just having some conversations. Okay, cool. No worries. Sweet. I'm glad to have you guys here. I'm honored that I have so many subscribers. I know a lot of people always tell me you should have millions of subscribers. I'm honored. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy with what I have. I'm satisfied and I'm content and I'm honored. So thank you very much. If we get more, sweet, we get more. Let's get back to these pictures here. There we go. All right, so back to the cakes baked for the Queen of Heaven. Now, how could the Queen of Heaven, how can the apex dome eat cakes that were baked for her? Okay, and I'll get back to the moon symbolism too. Trust me, we're going to get deep into that. It's the same reason why, like I said, all of these holy days, all of these holidays that we have are celebrating, revering, preparing for the exact same event. It just shifts, right? So this is why we have the pretty much the same celebration. So you have Christmas, right, where people light bonfires and exchange gifts and light candles and worship the tree and all that fun stuff. That's the winter solstice. Then you have Easter and Passover and things like that around the same time on the equinox or around the equinox for the springtime. And then you have Halloween or All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day and things like that, which is basically the exact same, and it's on the opposite side of the calendar as things like Easter and Pentecost and stuff like that, where the spirits would be released or whatever. And then, of course, you have the summer solstice, which would be like the 4th of July. We celebrate the summer solstice basically on the 4th of July here in the United States. But what it really is we wait after the 4th of July about that much time, about 12, 13 days until it's July 4th, because we're seeing if the sun has gone past the northern tropic to see if the apocalypse will come. That's the same reason why the ancient people kept track of the sun's position in the sky, and they would drill holes in megalithic structures to make sure the sun was in the right place at the right time, because if it wasn't, if the luminaries go off course, the apocalypse is near. Okay, so that's why it's so important to look up. That's why it's so important to be a sky watcher. I mean, for some of us, if you don't care, that's cool with me. That's fine. I don't care that you don't care. Like, I care. I would like to survive the apocalypse. I met a guy today. I went up to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, which, by the way, is just basically Noah's Ark for NORAD. So when the apocalypse comes, they have all those animals there. But there's this huge zoo on the mountain, on Cheyenne Mountain, where NORAD is. And I went up there today. And I sort of interviewed some of the zoo workers, and I was asking them about, their protocols for when the apocalypse comes. That was fun. You should have seen their faces. I wish I recorded it. Anyways, yeah, no idea, no clue. But I asked the guy, "What are you going to do when the apocalypse happens? Is this something that you've ever heard about or studied?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'll just figure it out when it happens. If it happens, it happens." I'm like, "So you're cool either way. If the apocalypse comes, if it doesn't come, whatever, like you're just gonna wing it?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't really care." I'm like, "Okay, all right. That's an honest answer. I respect that. I do care personally. And some of you out there care too. I know you do. This is why I'm making these videos. I make these videos for my children, so that they can hear dad's words of wisdom or whatever. And for you, for all of you, my family out there from place to place. All right, hot cross buns. Oh yeah. So how can the Apex Dome eat these offerings? It's the same exact way that the ghosts of Christmas, the ghosts of Christmas can eat what's left out for them, like Santa Claus basically can eat the milk and cookies and stuff. It's the same way that people or the ghosts during Halloween could eat the food, which originally it was food and stuff like baked goods, not so much candy, that was left out for them. It's because people set these out in certain places, hoping that the spirits will eat them. Those spirits, or plasma, the quintessence, the fifth element, the plasma that comes down from the Apex Dome, it floods this world. In a time long forgotten, in a time to come, people saw the spirits undulating through the sky as dragons. They saw pillars rising up from the ground as trolls and giants and titans. Not that there weren't physical giants, there were, of course, but sometimes they mix the two themes together. Right? My point is, these plasmoids, plasma balls, ball lightning, plasma filaments, etc., they feed not on the physical food, but when the food starts to become decrepit and it starts to rot, it gets smaller and smaller until basically it disappears. They feed on that. They will hover over this rotting food or over landfills and garbage dumps and cemeteries and any place where there's stuff that can rot. When it rots, it's giving off gases, a whole bunch of gas. So they would keep those spirits at bay, knowing where they would be. This is a form of trying to manipulate the plasma. They would offer it, usually putting it outside of the house, not inside of the house, because they didn't want electricity, that type of electricity coming into their homes. And they would decorate their homes with spiky things so that, it would keep the plasma away, actually. Or they would put, magnets, like horseshoe magnets on their door or whatever, not for good luck, for practical reasons. Anyways, they would leave out hot cross buns. They would bake these cakes for the queens of heaven, etc. Leave those out, and they would appear to be eaten over time by the plasma that would hover over and around them. This is where the whole Slimer ghost comes into play with Ghostbusters and stuff like that. Let me jump back into the chat. I want to say what's up to everybody and see what kind of questions or comments we've got going here. It looks like I've got Nikita Visuals Live. Well, let me take for the comments in the front. Oh, pow. All right, it says, JayDreamerZ, hello there, Jay. This is a question from Vienna. Are we talking here about this happening on a flying ball in space with curved waters on it, or a different Earth shape? Good question. I'm glad that you want to clarify. I don't like this in front of my face. Hold on, I'm going to answer your question, but let me put this back behind me here. I don't like it in front of my face. All right, we'll go behind me, and then I'll just get rid of, not that, but this. Boom, sweet. All right, cool. Let me put your comment back up here. Okay, so Nikita, I do not believe in a spinning, wobbling, pear-shaped, spheroidal, globular, flying spaceship Earth. I believe in an... Oh, it's still in front of my face. What did I do? Hold on, let me fix this. Why is it... It should be behind me. Why isn't it behind me? Oh, I moved the wrong thing. Okay, there we go. Boom, sweet. All right, I don't believe in all of that. That, to me, is fiction. That's fairy tales. That's science fiction. The people today have everything upside down, backwards, and inverse. They're seeing it all wrong. Not that there's some truth to some of the modern day academic scientific processes or theories or whatever. There may be, but I do not believe in a spaceship Earth, or that we're flying through uncharted territory or anything. That's a good question. I'm glad that you'd like to know my cosmology. I believe in what I call the fractal verse. In the fractal verse, I am also not on some disk that's sitting in space or whatever. I believe that all the worlds beyond our dome, which is underneath us and off to the peripherals and above and beyond, that they are all connected, that the Earth, as we know it, has roots, and those roots go all out and branch out to other Earths, and that they are all connected like neurons in the mind of God. That is my cosmology, and I call that the fractal verse. So I like that question. That's a good one. Let me see what else we got in the chat. We got Truth Con X Us Russell G. What's up, dude? Says, Jay, very proud of you, brother. Keep up the good work. Everything will come together for you in the near future. Thank you. I love you guys' blessings. I accept. Thank you. All right. We got, who else? Anything else? Yes. Shoop's in the chat. Oh, the cake. Oh yeah, you guys are talking about the cake. All right, it's cool. So let me get back to sharing my screen here and talking about the next thing. So we're talking about the apex dome as being the egg shape that people saw in the sky. It's just a half of an egg shape. It's sort of a bowl shape hanging up there in the sky, but people use their imaginations and think it's an egg hanging down from the sky. It is the cosmic egg, the egg of creation. It is the home of God. This is probably Asgard, if you ask me personally. This is also New Jerusalem, in my personal opinion, as it has the same dimensions. A lot of people think New Jerusalem is a cube, but I don't believe that. I think people, in this age, people see cubes. They see squares. They see pixels. You know what I mean? But in the age to come, everything is connected, and more people have more of a... They see things in circles and spheres and domes and things like that. You know what I mean? Now people live in boxes and cubes and work in cubicles and stuff like that. And to me, that's a shape that is reminiscent of the season that we live in, that I call the season of Satan, which is a lack of energy up here on the surface. Oh, you're super welcome, by the way. Yeah, no problem. You guys can jump into the chat, try to get my attention if you have something of interest or importance or a question. But let me share some more stuff. I want to share some more of this symbolism with you guys. Where is it? This one? Excellent. All right, so what you see here is a petroglyph. There are many petroglyphs in the world that show you the plasma. Look, this one right here literally has plasma. People might say, oh, that's a worm. Oh, that's a snake or whatever. That's neither. That's a plasma filament. That's a dragon. It's a fireworm undulating throughout the sky. Now, whenever these plasma filaments got close to the ground, the muddied ground, the ground's going to be very muddy, a lot of clay and mud and stuff, because the earth is going to be shaken from all those inner earth gases that are released from the cracks, spreading the earth out. So there's worldwide earthquakes during this event. Just as during the crucifixion of Jesus, I think I have that passage, there was worldwide earthquakes. And it talks about the veil being torn. There was a great earthquakes. The dead came to life. There was literally zombies. I mean, there's literally zombies in the New Testament that it talks about. Okay. The dead will come back to life. Many people who understand this bank on that. Why do you think they have catacombs? Why do you think that they have a city of dead people directly underneath a house of God or a cathedral? That should be seen as unclean, but it wasn't, because they knew those inner earth gases, those geoplasmas, clean all of that. They will bring the dead back to life as they reinvigorate and recharge and basically restart the cellular structure, the DNA, the genetics. It starts putting itself back together again, and the dead come back to life. Now, that gets into a whole subject of, zombies and how far dead you have to be, and what are the zombies, the actual people who died, etc. But I don't want to talk about zombies right now. Anyways, I want to talk about this duck. I want to talk about the duck on the top of this guy's head, because ducks are also a part of Easter, and the Easter eggs and the rabbits and the bunnies and stuff like that. Why do they have ducks? Well, people say they have rabbits because, it's spring and people are breeding like rabbits, and the rabbits are breeding like rabbits, and everything's, coming back to life and flourishing or whatever. No, stuff does that all the time. Okay. Maybe the plants do that during the spring or whatever, but animals and people and stuff, they procreate all the time, all throughout the year. Okay. As far as I know, ducks are not really a symbol of procreation at all. So what do ducks have to do with Easter, or specifically the plasma apocalypse, which Easter is one of the possible times when it happens? Let me clarify though, since I said that. I believe that the plasma apocalypse happens on the solstice, not the equinoxes. However, what was once an equinox, after the plasma apocalypse happens and our calendar shifts, or the luminaries, basically stop, and then they have to get back into motion again or whatever, the calendar shifts, and what was once an equinox will be a solstice next time. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, the duck shape is the apex dome, in short. So what you have here is a beam of light at the bottom. Can I move my hand over there? Yeah. So if you use perspective, okay, I'm just going to tell you how it is. This square shape, or this triangular shape for the body, is like that because of perspective. That is the beam of light at the center of the world, and people who are close to it see it shooting up into the sky. And then we have arms, which are the anode and cathode. There's other beams of light that are smaller. They act as witnesses to the central pillar. And the legs typically are actually a plasma sheath that goes over and around the Garden of Eden. Okay, it's oftentimes seen as like a squatter man or the Atlas pose, etc. But they have a duck on the head, because this duck is the bowl shape. It is the dome. You can tell it's a bowl shape right there. And then we have a little beak coming off to the side, because we have prevailing winds and the jet stream and stuff way up there high, where residual plasma or leftover plasma will sort of leak and follow those winds. Okay, once it's all done, there's plasma still up there, and it will leak out into different directions. Okay, whatever direction the wind is blowing in. So people will see a tongue that is sticking out of this apex dome, and that is why Kali and different gods, will stick out their tongues. People say it's mocking when you stick out your tongue. It's a gesture of, being goofy and stuff. But really the tongue is representative of plasma in those instances that comes out of the face of Medusa. And Medusa has these snakes that comes all the way around her head. In the ancient world, Medusa's head was pretty much on a shield. They never had like whole body pictures of Medusa. That was very rare. Usually it's just the head of Medusa. And she had snakes pretty much all the way around her head, because her face is the apex dome, and it was fixed to the shield of Zeus. That shield is this apex dome shape up there in the sky, right? Zeus being the god of electricity and stuff like that, right? So this is the dome, or the shield of Zeus, which was known as the Aegis, or the egg, right? The Aegis, you could pronounce it in different ways, but it's the egg shape that is seen in the sky. And that is where the duck symbolism comes from. Also, plasmoids themselves, plasma balls or ball lightning. I've shared some great video. I didn't have it prepared for today, but I've seen videos of ball lightning going back and forth, where it takes the shape of what looks like sometimes a duck in the sky because it's a main body. It's a main ball of plasma. And then when it moves, it'll have a portion that comes up, and then it'll have portions that come down. It looks like feet and a neck and stuff like that. So it can look like bunnies. It can look like ducks. It can look like, you know, I mean, it's up to your imagination. Ostriches, you know, stuff like that. This is a clip from the last Matrix movie, which was terrible in my opinion. But this shows Neo as an old man, old man Keanu Reeves, sitting in a bathtub with a rubber duck on his head. This is also the rubber duck symbolism and why rubber duckies are so popular or whatever. This is one of the shapes that plasma balls can take when they're moving at high speeds, okay? Oftentimes they can actually break off from one another and create like a snowman shape, which would be the main body of the duck there. But that's the duck symbolism. I probably should have had that video queued. Maybe I could pull it up. Let's try to pull it up. Why not? I think that'd be complimentary. So let's get my channel pulled up here, and I'll pull it up. I believe it was called Foo Fighters, because that's what those balls are. Foo means fire or light, etc. Here we go. Is this a short? Let me see.
This one is
that was loud.
Incredibly compelling.
Sorry.
You can actually see it, you know, behind. So that's how, you know, this. I'm not saying you can't fake these images. But regardless, I'm the type to see omens and see the truth, even in things that people think that they're faking, because they're tapping in subconsciously to truths, right? Everything, there's nothing new under the sun. It all comes from somewhere, right? But this is the propeller of the plane. So you can see them pass on the other side of this propeller. Like you can see them grow dim right about there.
Okay,
and then
I'm going to skip that one because that's not, oh, here it is. Here's the video right there. See how it says Foo Fighters? All right, cool. So let me just skip. I want to skip. Oh, here's the snowman shape that I was telling you about. So this is an actual plasma ball or ball lightning. And you see how it can kind of like break off into two? You see, and see how it kind of almost has what you could interpret as being like a little beak right there, right? But there's a guy that parked on the side of the road and he was just watching this incredible electrical storm. Here it is. Check this out. Now I'm going to play this video. I want to play this one in slow motion though. Okay, actually I'll play it in fast motion. If you pay attention, you'll be able to see the duck shape, the bunny shape, ostrich, birds of all kinds. It's up to your imagination what you see, okay? But this is an authentic video. This is not AI. This was recorded quite some time ago before AI even became popular. But now I want to slow it down because I want to show you where these bunnies and ducks come from, okay? So this is a guy parked on the side of the road filming an electrical storm. I'm going to slow this down. We'll go half speed. Now, watch for the bunny shapes, the duck shapes in these plasma balls, these plasmoids. It almost looks like it's flapping wings right there. Did you see that? See how they can change shape? Like that one's definitely a bunny. Do you see that one? Do you see the bunny? You see the duck? Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that because it's your perspective versus mine. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you so that it can make sense of why I'm talking about the bunnies and the ducks and stuff like that. Okay. All right, cool. Let me jump back into the chat, see if we have any comments or questions, and then I'm going to continue on to, we're going to do the Easter Bunny coming up next, the White Rabbit symbolism. Then I'm going to get into some ancient gods, and that's going to lead us into the moon and the moon god and the Artemis missions. Let me jump into the chat, see if we got anybody who wants to say anything. That shape on the Pope's robe, not sure if you covered that. No, I haven't covered that yet. We got the ducks and the bunnies. Nice. Let's see. We got David Todd 96 says, Jay, don't plasmoids often take the shape of an egg? They can take many shapes. They're shapeshifters. Plasma is the original shapeshifter. That's where the word plastic comes from. It means malleable. It means able to change form, etc. These light beings, if you want to call them that, plasmoids, plasma filaments, etc., can take any shape at all. And they tend to, spread out or collect together into like a ball or a star or something. Let's see what else we got. Escaping the Lie says, JayDreamerZ, how are chemtrails related in your opinion? If you're asking how they're related to the plasma apocalypse, I believe that they are spraying nanometallic objects up into the sky to mitigate the harmful heat from the sun. I believe that personally, and it's actually prophecy, that the sun is getting hotter and hotter and hotter as a point of focus above us, and that the elite of this world are trying to save their own people by reflecting back the sun's rays. They're trying to dim the sun, basically, during a time when the sun is going through a color spectrum shift, and it's getting hotter and hotter. Daylight is getting shorter and shorter, and therefore more and more focused. So it's getting hotter and hotter, and eventually the sun is going to start scorching the earth. The sun will be the abomination of desolation, or the abomination that causes desolation, or the earth to become desolate, because people will start hiding in the daytime. They'll start hiding from the sun. So the idea, I believe, is that the sunlight will hit the particulates, the metal particulates and stuff that are in the atmosphere, and it will reflect back up to the sky. However, it's still a closed system. It's still going to get hot. But that takes us into their phase 2. And phase 2 is cracking open the dome, or the moon. And I'll talk about that here in just a bit. But that's my theory. Jay needs his flower. I need a flower? Okay. Maybe. I like flowers. All right, so let's talk about the white rabbit, okay? The Easter bunny is always white. It is almost always a white rabbit. You don't hardly see any brown Easter bunnies or black Easter bunnies especially. It's always a white Easter bunny. That's not because it's whitewashed. That has nothing to do with Caucasian people, even though the Caucasians do love Easter, seemingly more than anybody. But there's reasons for all of this, okay? They say to follow the white rabbit. That's an expression that we're all familiar with, right? It means to go to the truth, to find the source, to be a truth seeker. Follow the white rabbit. Some people might not see it that way. They might see it opposite. I don't know. But I will tell you my theory on why it is a white rabbit and why the white rabbit is used for this time of Easter and the apocalypse, etc. It all has to do with the mountain at the middle of the world. That mountain goes back and forth between being called the White Mountain and the Black Mountain. During this time, when there is no electrical charge, no energetic amplification in the atmosphere, this mountain right here is known as Rupus Nigra. This mountain, I believe, is mostly comprised, likely, my number one culprit for what this mountain is physically comprised of or made of is magnetite and iron mixed together. Magnetite and iron, making it an extremely strong magnet. Now, it's magnetic because of the energy that rushes up through it as inner Earth gases go from underneath and shoot all the way up, creating this pillar, this world tree, this axis mundi, all the way up into the sky for 1,000 years. That magnetizes that mountain, that rock. And this is the reason why your compasses point to this object. The whole area is full of magnetic mountains up there, but that's the strongest one by far. Okay? Now, this mountain is called Rupus Nigra, and here it's described as Rupus Nigra et Altissima in Latin, which means the black rock in the highest, or Excelsior, the highest, loftiest, tallest black rock on Earth, Black Mountain or mountain on Earth, okay? This is a tower. This is not any kind of mountain you've ever experienced. This shoots straight up into the air. I gave a good example, or I'm going to give a good example of this soon. I visited the Garden of the Gods here in Colorado Springs. Some of you out there have your own versions of these where you have walls of rock. And I mean a wall that shoots straight up out of the ground, not a slope that goes up into a mountain or anything. I mean a wall, like a real thin layer of rock that just shoots up like the back of a stegosaurus or the scales or the back of a dragon or something, right? I'll explain that another time. Anyways, the black rock becomes the white rock. It's black because it's rusty, in short, okay? There is no electricity running through this to keep it nice and shiny and silvery as magnetite and iron should be, but it becomes rusty over time. And you've got all these waters and stuff all the way around it, and the mist and everything turns this rock black, just as your frying pans will turn black and stuff too. However, whenever this beam of electricity rushes through it and we go back into the golden age, this becomes a shining mountain or a white mountain or a white tower. So there's a difference. There's an age that we live in now, which obviously this goes back into the Middle Ages and stuff, where this was a black rock and there was no beam of light that was constantly shooting up out of it for 1,000 years or however long to keep it clean. Right? Because whenever you shoot the electricity through it, it cleans off all of that rust. And that's actually how people, that's one method of cleaning off people's rusty frying pans and, pots and pans and stuff like that today, is they will use electricity to get off all that rust and make it shine again. So this is the white rock and it is the black rock. It is a white tower and a black tower, a white castle and a black castle. It goes back and forth between sharing those titles. All right, cool. Let me get back to where I was here. Oh, so that's the Easter Bunny, right? So follow the white rabbit. Is the white rabbit. You have to understand, we didn't always use the word rabbit. It used to be coney. The word for rabbit was coney. Now, coney, the word coney means literally a burrow or a hole in the ground. That's what it means. Rabbits were called the burrowers, or those who make the holes in the ground. This is the ultimate burrow. You want to follow the white burrow, the white rabbit. Now we use the word rabbit, okay? And also the word rabbit may be directly related to the plural form of the word rabbi, which means teacher. This rock is the great teacher. This rock is, if you were to go into this rock and bathe in geoplasmas or cold plasmas that are emitted from the earth itself, in theory, it should reinvigorate you at the cellular level, basically giving you like a fresh, brand new body at the cellular level. And you would be young again. Your skin would produce collagen and elastin. Your synapses would be on high. Your brain function would be on high. You'd be way more intelligent and hopefully wise than you were when you first went in. You'd be brand new. You'd be born again, basically, to use a phrase. But this is the white rabbit symbolism. It means follow the white rabbit means go to Mount Meru. It means go back to Eden, to a physical terrestrial paradise on Earth. That's what it really means. It implies things like find the truth. This is one of the ultimate truths of our world, is a physical terrestrial paradise that people have forgotten about, and its relationship to electricity, which is why these rivers look like they've been, electrically carved out or whatever, because all of this land is created through electricity and electromagnetism. And that's why it looks like this. Now, this is the same shape that is reflected on the apex dome, on that egg above. You will see this image because the firmament is reflective. It's made out of ice or frozen gases. And whenever the geoplasmas erupt from the earth and they illuminate the mirror above us, I'm sort of alluding to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. We will see into that mirror and everything will be made plain to us. We will see an accurate reflection of the land below us. You will look up and see, if you don't know what's going on, another world above you, but it's really just a reflection of our world. And that is why the moon looks like it has continents and places and stuff that are eerily similar to actual places on Earth, because the moon is a projection of that apex dome, which is reflecting the dim light of the Earth right now. But I'll get back to the moon here in just a second. Let's get back to, so we got the Easter Bunny, okay? This is not worship. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think people are like worshiping and this, all that stuff or whatever. If you're an extremist in that regard, I respect that, okay? That's totally fine. I think everything in this earth right now is completely satanic and evil and upside down, okay? For the most part. So this is included. I'm not going to harp on the Easter Bunny and, paganism and all that stuff or whatever. You guys celebrate, do whatever you want to. I'm focused on the apocalypse. I'm focused on the origins of these things. But you can see that they often dress up the Easter Bunny as like this Victorian kind of sort of almost Gothic style. Like he could easily pass for a vampire if it wasn't the Easter Bunny. You know what I mean? And that's because of who lives in this place. The Gothic people, the Tartarian people, or the Tetarian people, or the barbarian people, etc. You know what I mean? Some of them dressed like that. That was their style of dress. And, we name buildings after that style. The Victorian, the people who were victorious over what? They saw and they conquered. They conquered what? They conquered the age. They were survivors of the apocalypse. That's why they, were known as the victors. Hey, I just got a super chat from Desert Stars. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're super welcome. I'm happy to be here. Let's move on. Let's move on to the gods of the Apex Dome, or the gods of that Easter egg in the sky. And I'm going to start with not these ones. I'm going to start with a god known as Sin. Since, today's holiday is, kind of a Christian holiday. Let's start with Sin. We'll get back to Humpty Dumpty. Sin was the god of the moon. Now, of course, there is a condition called sin here on Earth, where it is a fallen condition. It's essentially a form of entropy, if you ask me personally, if we look at it scientifically, where things are constantly degrading over time, getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I believe that can happen exponentially if you change the conditions, which is why, radiocarbon dating and stuff isn't accurate. And time is speeding up, but I don't want to take us off track. And time is speeding up, by the way. But there was a god known as Sin. This was the god of the moon. Now, his most significant temple, this was the Apex Dome. They called that Sin. In the ancient language, sometimes they would pronounce it with a sh sound. So they would say Sheen, which is why they called that the Sheen, because it had a sheen to it. Sheen means to glow. Right? When something has a sheen, it has a shimmer. It has a shining to it. Okay, this goes back to, the movie The Shining and stuff too, by the way. But that god was called the Sheen, the shimmer, the shining, the Sin, if you want to use it without the sh sound. Some people couldn't pronounce that, so they would say sin or whatever. And that gave birth to all kinds of different languages because people didn't stick to the original, pronunciation. But regardless, the moon god, the dome god, the bowl god hanging from the sky, and the egg god was the god of the moon, because that casts its own image into our sky, and we call that the moon. People actually saw the substance of it. They saw the hanging bowl in the sky fixed to the firmament. That was called Sheen, or Sin, or Seen, the god of the moon. The all-seen eye, the all-seeing eye. It's a play on words. Calm down. Now, his most significant temple, the Igish Shigar, or Shirgal, Igish Shirgal, was located in a place called Ur. Oh, you can't see that. Make it bigger. See that? It's a city called Ur. You could just say Ur if you want to talk like an American cowboy. Ur. Ur means light. This was the city of light. It was a place of light. It was the center of the world. Many of these biblical places are here. They're not in the Middle East, the modern Middle East today. Okay, they are in the middle of the world. They are in Middle Earth. They are in the cradle of civilization. These are where the biblical, Old Testament places were, in my opinion, and based on my research. They all were here. When these people were evacuated, when they left, and I'm sure they knew about the apocalypse, they left this place as the waters started to rise and this particular land sank. This land will return. Some of us might even see this land return. It will rise up out of the Arctic Ocean. Some people will see it as a great beast, etc. But this is the place where it all goes down. This is the plaza of our world. This is the center of our world. This is Main Street, USA, or Main Street, Earth, or whatever. Now, let me find where I was here. Yes, that's right. So Sin, the god of the moon. So, like I said, Sin, the apex dome, breaks. It will break off and it will fall down to the earth. Every other cycle, something happens to keep it stuck in the sky, and it will literally float and not hit the earth for a long time. And it will be like a city or a castle or whatever floating in the sky, right above that mountain at the center of the world. And just to give you a visual of that, if you ever seen like people have like a magnet on like a superconductor that's really cold, and they put the magnet and it'll just stay there, it'll float. That's the same type of effect that I'm talking about. Okay. However, every other cycle, that magnetism is not as strong as it needs to be. So the apex dome, Humpty Dumpty, Sin enters this world as it falls, as the Sheen, the shining one, the light bearer, Lucifer, etc., falls into this world and comes crashing down into this world. And when that happens, the world floods. That's the flooded world. And that is the time whenever we have the blue sky, the oceans, etc., and the energy just dissipates and dissipates as the earth charges all of it back into the core. Okay? So that is the moon god, Sin. Let's look at some of these other gods who are basically the counterparts, the exact same god or goddess as Sin, the apex dome, the cosmic egg god or goddess, etc. We have Inanna. This is where the banana gets its name from. Okay, that crescent shape is not a crescent. Okay, only parts of it will go through cycles. That egg in the sky lights up. But like I said, there's lights on the other side of it that are spinning around. So just like our moon goes through cycles, and this is the reason why our moon goes through cycles, because the apex dome itself is going through cycles. So people would see the crescent cycle or whatever, sort of hanging down as the bottom portion would be glowing. And it looks like a banana, or a banana looks like it. So banana is where we get this from. Inanna. It's actually, her name was Nana, which is like some people would call their grandmother Nana or Nana or whatever, right? That's the great cosmic grandmother or grandmother spider, because it produces all these legs that come out of it, and it can look like a spider. Like the dome portion is the body, and then you have like all these little plasma filaments that come out of it like a cheese grater, right? Let me explain that, by the way. Okay. So I believe that three things happen as far as destruction to the apex dome. The biggest is when the whole apex dome itself breaks and falls down to the earth. I think that only happens during the plasma apocalypse. And that's a longer period of time. I believe that there are weak points all over the apex dome that we see as craters on the moon. And those weak points will burst open and be little holes as the plasma comes through like a cheese grater, and it looks like hair coming out of a god's head, or, dragons or whatever, like I was talking about. And then, of course, we have a hole that actually bursts open as the depressurization of our atmosphere hits it and punctures the center of that apex dome, causing the pupil, or the pupil of the all-seeing eye that hangs above us. Okay? So there's three things that sort of happen to it that destroy it or mess it up. All right, anyways, we have Inanna, we have Astarte, also known as Ishtar, which is where Easter comes from. This was the time when people saw and revered Easter, or Ishtar, or Astarte. This is the word star is literally in here. That's the dark star, the black star, or the glowing star. It's a glowing neon dark light. It's not a bright light like the sun or whatever. It's like a neon light because it's plasma. And the word star is literally in there. And it says, oftentimes this is worshipped as, like, I think within Freemasonry, the female side usually worships this particular goddess, and she represents the East. They'll say she's the god of the East, or the goddess of the East. The East in antiquity was up towards the apex dome, towards the firmament. West was down into the earth. So we have Astarte, or Astarte, Near Eastern counterpart, she was the goddess of love and war and fertility, because whenever people can see the apex dome or the red planet like Mars or whatever, Venus, etc., that's the time whenever the atmosphere is electrically amplified. So you become electrically amplified. That means your passions become amplified to an extreme degree, whether it be love as a loving passion, or, you know, arousal, or all that stuff will be amplified. Trust me, you won't need Viagra, you won't need any of those pills, but your anger will also be amplified, which is, you know, you need to be careful about that. You need to be in check of your emotions, because if you let your emotions rise to the surface, they will control you during this time. You will be what I call plasma possessed. All right. You will be a slave to your very own emotions. Anyways, these become the gods and goddesses of love, war, sexuality, beauty, etc. Venus, of course, we have the goddess Venus, the Roman version of Aphrodite, Anat, the god of war, fertility aspects, Sibyl, another moon goddess, Mother Earth and power aspects, etc. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about Humpty Dumpty one more time. I kind of want to come back to that because I did a video about Humpty Dumpty when I was out and about. Let me find a good. Do I have a good picture of Humpty Dumpty? Here's a go. There's a perfect picture. This comes from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Okay. Now in the book, if you read the book Alice in Wonderland, well, first of all, they took Humpty Dumpty completely out of the movie. He doesn't even show up in the movie, which sucks because it's one of my favorite parts of the book. In the book, he tells Alice he is not an egg, or it's strongly implied by him because he gets offended when she says, "Oh, you look like an egg." And he's like, and he's not a fat guy either, okay? He is not an object on Earth. He is not a human. He's none of that stuff. This is the apex dome. All of these images of Humpty Dumpty are upside down because we have gone through a polarity shift in this world, which has resonated with our very brains, and we think upside down, which is why your alphabet has slowly turned upside down over the years. You see that collar? That little ruffled collar that he's wearing right there? It looks like some triangles or whatever. That's the type of, you know, Queen of England kind of ruffly regal collar. That's why they wear that type of stuff. They're emulating the things that they saw in the sky. Plus they were photophobic, so it also helped to keep the sunlight off of them. But it doesn't need to be that design, that ruffly kind of design. That comes from the clouds that go up and down all the way around the apex dome. And I think those are caused due to a sort of superfluid condition that exists up there, high up, and atmospheric depressurization. But anyways, this is Humpty Dumpty. You'll notice that his smile stretches from cheek to frickin' cheek, almost cutting his head in half. And there are many characters within pop culture that emulate this. For example, the Joker, especially the best Joker, which is Heath Ledger's Joker, by the way, in my opinion. Okay, Jack Nicholson was the best, but I think Heath Ledger kind of took the crown. But anyways, that's why he cut his smile even wider or whatever, because that apex dome is only halfway into the firmament, or that egg shape is only halfway up there. So we have like this huge smile that wraps all the way around it. This picture is upside down. He's hanging upon the firmament itself, and he will fall. So Humpty Dumpty, the hump that dumps, sat on a wall, which is the firmament itself, which is the wall of our world, or our house that we live on. We live on basically the roof of the house, or the attic, I guess you could say. The inner rooms are the hollow earth. That's where you probably want to be. That's where I'd like to be. But right now we live sort of in the attic, I guess you could say, and that's the ceiling. The dome above us is the ceiling to our world, at least. And he sits on that wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. That's sin entering into the world, or Sheen falling down, the shining one falling down, New Jerusalem coming down into the earth, etc. All of the king's horses, because of where he falls, this is where nobility comes from. All the people that live here will scatter from here, living for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they will take control of the Southlands, which we call our nations and continents today. They will leave here, they will become nomadic, they'll, start building little communities and taking control through trade and exchange of information for actual real physical property and stuff like that. And they'll slowly start taking over the world. Okay. And what else? So all the king's horses in this area, the nobility, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again because it breaks when it does hit the ground, and it does break. It breaks into icebergs, and it looks like shells, basically. It looks like eggshells. If you were to look from way high up, you could see Humpty Dumpty just broken all over our world. What else we got? Oh, yes. So remember I said that the moon shape, or the apex dome shape in the sky, glows, and it's called sin or sheen because it has a sheen to it, right? Oh, I just deleted myself. Hold on. I'm trying to share something with you guys, but I don't remember what to click on. Is it this one? No, that's not it. One sec. Is that one? Yeah, that's that one. All right, cool. So that was known as sin or sheen, okay, as a god or a goddess or whatever. There is a symbol for that within Judaism. There's a letter called Sheen, and it is known as representing teeth. And the letter Sheen is seen symbolically as teeth, which imply to devour or to eat or to consume. Because this is the quintessential moon. The moon, this shape right here, eats souls. It devours. As I showed you earlier, it was eating Jesus, or figuratively, symbolically, it was eating Jesus. Jesus was getting sucked right up into the apex dome. It is the eater of souls, which is why people think that the hologram up there in the sky that we call the moon, the projection, eats souls. It doesn't. It's just a light in the sky. It doesn't eat anything, okay? But this does. This is physical, and this can open its mouth. If we call it a mouth, the hole that punches into this egg. And when it does, the atmosphere gets sucked into this. So all of the auroras or spirits or whatever that are hovering up there in a river of spirits around the North Pole, those are going to be some of the first things to go. You're going to see it suck all those spirits right up as Pac-Man here eats the ghosts, figuratively or whatever. Now, it's known as Sheen. And the glyph for this was teeth. I'm going to show you this glyph. It's the letter S in Hebrew. Okay. There's actually 2 letter S's in Hebrew, but we're going to look at this one in particular. Let's see. This one? Yep. All right, cool. Now, let me show you the letter Sheen. This is the letter Sheen. It kind of looks like a fancy W or something if you're English, right? Sometimes it looks like that. The symbol for this, there's a hand symbol, and it is that. Some of you may recognize that. This is made famous by Star Trek and Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy, or his character, right? That does this. He's the Vulcan. Now, Vulcan is directly related to mountains and volcanoes specifically, but he comes from like a planet Vulcan and stuff. I don't want to get too off course. All I'm saying is that's the letter Sheen. And that's how you emulate that letter. You have to kind of curve your thumb technically. You don't want to do that because then it's not really Sheen. You have to do it like that, okay? So you can see this is the long part, that part right there, and then the short part on the top, okay? That's how they would do the letter Sheen, all right? Sometimes when they would do a blessing, it's known as the Aaronic blessing, they would do the Sheen symbol with both hands. Sometimes they would do it putting them together. Other times, people would make a triangle by putting the 2 Sheens together. This triangle is the delta. Remember Jim Carrey's all mocking tongue? Right? I mean, I don't know if he did the Sheen symbol or not, but I think he just did it like that. But technically, he probably should have done that. And then he sticks out his tongue. That's because it creates the delta, which means door in ancient languages, okay? Or dalet. The triangle shape meant an opening, a door, a passage, or not a passage specifically, but like a gate, like a stargate. And that apex dome, that cosmic egg, creates a passageway. The Hopi referred to that as the place of the great Sipapu in the sky. Okay, so this hanging egg shape was the great Sipapu. The Sipapu, sort of a gathering place underground. Right? It's Nibiru, or the planet of the cross, or the planet where you cross over into the heavens, which is literally what Hebrew means, to cross over. Okay, not like you broke someone's ankles playing basketball, crossover, but to move from one place to another. Okay, to move technically from a dead land into the promised land, or into a land of plenty. But anyways, this is how you do Sheen, the letter Sheen, which is representative of the moon, the quintessential moon, the substance of what we call the moon, which is the apex dome. Okay? I'm not going to get into Judaism and all that stuff right now. I don't really care, honestly. You guys can care about it. That's fine. I don't care. I don't get caught up in all that drama. What else? Let's move on. Let me check the chat. Let's jump into the chat, see if you guys have any comments. Let's see. We do have a comment. We do have a few comments. Hold on. Let me get to these real quick. Let's see. And what it wouldn't be, it would. Yeah, that's a quote from Alice in Wonderland. Banderson. That kind of reminds me of Bandersnatch. You ever see that? JayDreamerZ, is your theory a mix of imagination and facts? Yes, absolutely. Completely, totally. My theory is a mix of everything, which I think is what, the way it should be to me personally. I resonate with everything. I like to mix everything together. I like to see all the things that connect. I like to put it all on the table and take those puzzle pieces and see where it all connects. So definitely it is a mix of my imagination, and it is a mix of what some people would call fact. It is a mix of science and academics and history and mythology and fiction and science fiction and prophecy and intuition and a gut feeling and a deep, profound knowing. I don't know how else to explain it. So yes, it's a mix of everything. We got Hollis Sarkham, who says, JayDreamerZ, that's wild. Sheen is corresponding to the judgment card in tarot, and penultimate Hebrew character. Oh, well, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing. Yes, simmering, shimmer. Yep, you got it. You're on point. The shimmer, the shining, sinning, etc. Banderson says, Jay is so good with words. Ah, thanks. You guys want to hear something? Latin is Arabic backwards. I wouldn't doubt it. I want my Baroon back. That's an interesting name, says Jay. What about the covenant/agreement with Elohim saying that there won't be any floods anymore? That's a good question. Let me try to answer that in short, but I'm also going to refer you to my channel. I believe there should be a little search magnifying glass, right? Just type in flood, and I believe this video should come up. Let me find it for you, actually. Let me go the extra mile. I've done a whole video about that, explaining it, and I'll try to give you the gist of it right now. So if you go to my channel, just like this, let me take the comment down so you can see. Go to my channel, boom, click on the jelly, and there should be a little search. There you go. See the little search? Click right there. Type in Noah. That might work. Maybe. Yes, here it is. So if you just go down a little ways, there's a video here called Why the Great Flood Will Come Again. It's got 12,000 views as of right now. It's a pretty good video, but I go into the Hebrew and everything and explain why the Great Flood will come again. But in short, just to answer your question directly, where was I? Oh yeah, I wasn't sharing the screen right now. Boom. All right. Just to answer your question directly, I believe that verse in the Bible has been mistranslated, severely mistranslated. I believe that God's promise was not that the earth would not ever flood again infinitely, but for the rest of that age that the earth would not flood again. because the earth goes through cycles of flooding and fire, and it keeps going from cycle to cycle. So Noah was promised that the flood would not come again during his cycle because it had already flooded. It's not going to come during the next cycle because that's the cycle of fire. And then the cycle after that, the earth will flood again. So we're heading into the cycle of fire right now. But yeah, that's just a short answer. Paul Hightower says, I'm cooking. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be Chef JayDreamerZ. Colorado Springs is in fact filled with Humpty Dumpties, and I have found all of them. That's my Easter egg hunt. I took my son on an Easter egg hunt to find all of the Humpty Dumpties. I feel like that's way cooler than hiding freaking eggs in your house or whatever. What else? Anything else? CJC is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, any connection with the horrible fast fashion branded Sheen, or perhaps Sheen on the scene, trendy currently? I don't know what any of that is, so I couldn't honestly say. But if I come across it, I can let you know. What else? Let me just see. I'm looking for my name highlighted here in my chat for people who typed in @JayDreamerZ. Just like this one. Oristora Dor de Veridas. Cool. JayDreamerZ. Egg, are you aware of the Antakaharana symbol? Probably not, because I can't even pronounce that word. And also its presence in the Operation Warp Speed logo. I would like your view on that. Either net is on. This is just the tip of the Etherberg. I wonder if I can copy and paste that. Hold on, let me see. I'll check it out real quick. I don't think I've come across that quite yet. Let me see. I'm just going to plug it in here. Oh, does it look like a cube? Like a sort of like a swastika and a cube mixed together? Is that what that is? It also kind of looks like the GameCube symbol. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But the cube symbolism is basically a box, which is a container. This is also Pandora's box. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. A box does not have to be a cube. Get that out of your heads. Okay? We associate a cube with a box shape because of the world that we live in. But there were boxes in antiquity that were dome-shaped or egg-shaped or spherical or whatever. Box just means container. It's where the word bus comes from. Omnibus. It means a container. Okay, that holds everything or whatever. But this is Pandora's box. Okay, does not have to be a cube. Just like New Jerusalem does not have to be a cube. This is Pandora's box. When this opens, all kinds of things are going to come out. And the monsters will reveal themselves once more as gigantism enters into our world. Otherworldly creatures from above will float down into our world. Some things are going to get sucked up and leave this place. And then it will seal back up. All right, anything else? Good to see you. We got DJ Chicky Jason or JayDreamerZ. We got Escaping the Lie says JayDreamerZ, how much luck preparation is involved in surviving the event versus how much is God's will? Good question. Man, that's deep. I would say my God, how I define God, is that God is omnipotent, which means all powerful. So everything that God wills happens. That's how I see God. Okay. As far as like all the universe and everything and all of creation. I don't believe that anything can happen that is against God's will personally, because that goes outside of the definition of God. So in that regard, everything that happens is God's will. But how much of it is luck, being your choices that you make where you happen to be at that time, what you have access to when this happens? Some of that is a mix of luck based on your location, your geography, what you're near and stuff. Yes, absolutely. Luck will be a superpower. Luck can save some people, I believe, from the plasma apocalypse. You can just get lucky. Some people are going to sleep right through the plasma apocalypse and be just fine. They'll They'll wake up, walk outside, just like the girl in Wizard of Oz, and you'll see a whole nother world out there. You know what I mean? Some people will get lucky and survive. I'm trying to have everything. I'm trying to have luck on my side, and I follow a lot of my intuition, which is why I've stayed here in Colorado Springs for so long, because I believe that this is a huge part of what's happening, this particular area. And preparation, studying, you know what I mean? Learning as much as I can. But, you know, all the learning in the world isn't going to help you if a big fat part of the dome that weighs thousands of tons drops on you. You know, it squishes you like the Wicked Witch of the West. So it would be good not to be in those areas. I have heard of the anime. Is it X or is it Hunter X? They're plasma dragons. Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. I'm going to jump back in and finish up this presentation. Thanks for sharing that weird swastika looking cube thing with me. What else? Where was I here? We talked about the different names for the moon goddess or the egg goddess. Sometimes she actually has eggs all over her chest. Some people think they're breasts and stuff. They're not breasts. They're eggs. Just, you know. We talked about Then, Sheen, etc. The Colburn Bible mentions that same shape that is seen in the sky, and it's known as the doom shape. I'm going to read you a little excerpt, little Cliff's Notes that goes over the Colburn Bible in reference to this shape that is seen in the sky, this egg shape that is seen in the sky. The doom shape, or dome shape, mentioned in the context of the Colburn Bible refers to the destroyer, an abomination. It will destroy, okay? Like that shape is what causes our sun. It's what causes the moon. It's what causes the stars. It's putting that light into our atmosphere through that lens. It will destroy. Just like in Star Wars, you see like the Death Star, that's the Death Star. Okay? I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it, but it will focus its light or the sunlight or whatever, and it will become like a laser. The sun will become like a laser and start burning everything. Refers to the destroyer, a celestial or chaotic body or chaotic phenomenon described in the text as causing catastrophic events on Earth, such as the biblical flood and the Exodus plagues. Now, we have kind of touched on the flood, the apex dome falling, breaking off into icebergs, melting, the flood waters rising. That is not where I believe the flood waters primarily come from, but it will contribute, okay? Just to be clear on that. Key aspects of the doom shape, the destroyer, appearance. It is described as a dark, fiery, or red-lit body, wrapped in smoke and dark clouds. It is a dark light. Like I said, it is a black star. It will be, when it has a hole in it, and the atmosphere depressurizes, it will be the black hole. That's what a black hole is. It's a hole in a physical object. The firmament is a physical object. You can't have a black hole in space already because space is a hole. You know what I mean? It's described as a dark, fiery. It will be fiery or red-lit body. This is your Nibiru that has a cross on it, the planet of the crossing, and people bake cakes in that same shape, little dome cakes and stuff that have crosses on them because they're emulating what is above. Wrapped in smoke and dark clouds. It is not smoke. Smoke is when you burn something. That is ice up there. It does not burn. The heavens are a mixture of ice and fire. And by fire, I mean plasma. It is celestial fire. It is heavenly fire. It is the ether, or it is the quintessence or the fifth element, etc. But it is a combination of cold and hot up there in the highest. And dark clouds. Yes, definitely dark clouds. It is characterized as a black cloud that throws fire and stones, causing the earth to be filled with redness. Let me explain all of this. I already explained throwing fire as the plasma filaments move through all of the holes or whatever on the apex dome. That's throwing fire down to the world, right? It throws stones because during atmospheric depressurization, the stones themselves will lift up into the sky. The world will become very muddy and full of clay and debris and stuff. All of that mud will lift up into the air in globs. And whenever it hits those plasma filaments, it will remove all of the water from the mud and it will solidify it. It will densify it and create boulders and rocks and stuff of different shapes or whatever. And some of those might get sucked up and eaten by Kronos and leave this world and eaten by the apex dome. Some of it won't. Some of it will get caught in the downdraft, where the stones will be thrown back down to the earth and it will rain boulders in some places, causing the earth to be filled with redness. Why is the earth filled with redness? I will tell you. It's because of rust. That's the simple answer. Okay? It will rain blood, or people will, think it's raining blood or whatever, but the whole earth will start turning more and more orange and red color. The sky will literally become more red, but the earth will be much more red because there will be rust everywhere not because of the doom shape though. So they have it backwards. It's not because of the doom shape. Every other cycle when that doom shape appears, geoplasmas of ionized oxygen and nitrogen erupt from the earth. Those pillars and beams and poles and stuff that shoot up out of the ground, and they fill the whole earth with oxygen, which oxidizes all of our metals and stuff up here on the surface, and everything becomes red and orange and rusty, including sand and soil and debris and dirt, and there's a lot of red mud and red clay, and everything becomes red. Now, when it passes near to the earth, it is said to cause severe physical disasters, including the splitting of the land, poisonous dust, and intense volcanic or meteoric activity. Let's break that down. First of all, it is not passing near to the earth whatsoever. This is from the perspective of space and all that stuff. It doesn't pass, it just appears. It will appear out of nowhere. It's not going to slowly appear or anything. It's going to, the geoplasmas are going to start to erupt before the dome breaks open. You'll start to see lights coming from the north and other places as well around the world. Pillars of light, beams of light, sky beams and stuff. And you'll see more and more of these, and the largest of them will be seen in the north because that's where the largest openings into the earth are. As that happens, the apex dome will appear. Now, it's not going to pass by the earth or anything. It's a part of the earth. It is said to cause severe physical disasters, including the splitting of the land. The land will split, like I said, depressurization, atmospheric depressurization inside of the earth, under your feet. The earth is not solid. The earth is not what they teach you, where it's got the different layers and it's all molten on the inside and all of that. The earth is hollow. This is a house. It is a container, okay? It has pillars and columns and stuff that hold up the surface where we are, but there's entire worlds beneath your feet, openings, cavernous spaces that, have entire atmospheres where you would think you were in another world, and you wouldn't even be able, if you looked up to us where we are today, you wouldn't even see the sky. You wouldn't even see the roof above you of the cave that you live in. You would just see atmosphere. That's how extensive and open the land is beneath our feet. But the land will split when all of those gases rush up through the surface world, and it will split and cause earthquakes and lights in the sky as they ionize and wildfires as they combust, and lands will sink down and stuff like that. Poisonous dust, that's the gases mixed with the depressurization, which will cause a worldwide tempest, and the dust everywhere, the sand, the soil, everything's going to get kicked up in the air. The air will be dirty and terrible everywhere. But we have lots of different types of gases that will be released from the earth, not just oxygen, not just nitrogen. There are all kinds of gases that can affect you in many different ways. And those gases can combine with one another to form other gases. Some of those can be very toxic. Some of those can cause boils on your skin. Some of them can cause you to go into laughing fits or get the jitters and, go into convulsions. Some of those can kill you and literally take your breath away. So poisonous dust, intense volcanic and meteor activity. Obviously, all the volcanoes on Earth are going to go off at the same time. or more and more and more until eventually all of them have gone off. And then the meteors, I already talked about that. The rocks falling back down from the sky. The Colburn Bible describes this body as a repeat visitor. That's cyclical. A repeat visitor that caused the disasters during the Exodus from Egypt. At the same time, they cross over the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds or whatever, and the waters lifted straight up into the sky. They did not lift up into the sky because there was some local wind that sort of, made the waters recede and it was low tide or whatever garbage story that is, okay? I've heard that story. That doesn't make any kind of sense. Those waters lifted up into the sky. Why? Atmospheric depressurization. Why didn't the people, when they were journeying to the promised land, lift up into the sky? Because they were sticking their feet down into the mud of the bottom of the seafloor, and they were securing themselves down into the seafloor. That's my theory, at least. All right, what else? Nature. It is often described in the Colburn Bible. This event also causes all of the 10 plagues of Egypt, too, by the way. It is often described in the Colburn Bible not as a sentient monster, but as a heavenly body, a physical object, whose path causes destruction, or when its appearance will cause destruction. It's also sometimes seen as like a great comet. Often interpreted by modern readers as a rogue planet, as we've discussed, a comet or a brown dwarf. It's always going to be that same color, that sort of reddish tint. It's also the evil eye, the red eye, right? I kind of already touched on this, the 4 major holy times during the year, which is, by the way, based on the sun's transit. So I'll give you a heads up as to what to look out for next. I would definitely keep these feasts and festivals, if I was you, gathered together during the specific times, but in the time we live in now, I feel that the solstices are the most important. Okay, the equinoxes are sort of residual from the last time. They used to be solstices, as I explained. But I believe Christmas and 4th of July, those are the 2 to keep your eyes on. Okay, keep your eyes on the sun. Track it, where it is going. Keep your eyes on the moon, whether or not it's getting smaller or brighter or changing colors. Is the sun changing colors? Are the stars in the wrong places? Are the seasons off course? Are the stars not in the correct positions? You know what I mean? All of these are omens of the apocalypse, and they're indicators of great change. Here's a verse, since it's Easter, the crucifixion of Jesus. I think I already read this. This was the zombie thing. I already read that. All right, let's continue on. Now let's talk about Artemis. Actually, let me jump into the chat real quick, and then I'm going to come back to Artemis. Okay, NASA's, they're halfway to the moon right now, they say. Okay, so they're literally going on an Easter egg hunt on Easter. I don't believe that these were delayed, that there were all these delays and stuff. I think that they're doing it at a specific time of year purposefully. April Fool's was the launch date. Give me a break. Like, it's Easter and they're on their way to the great cosmic egg in the sky, NASA's Artemis 2 mission. I'll come right back to that after I check out some of these comments in the chat, questions and comments. Heather, hey, thank you so much for your donation in the chat. I super appreciate you, Heather. Shout out to you and your family. Let's see. We got Andrew in the chat who says, do you think we will have that event the media talked about a few weeks ago, now that gravity will stop and everyone and everything will start floating for 7 seconds or something like that? Yes, I do. And I'm about to talk about it right now, but I'll just give you a little preview, okay? I believe that your governments are going to try to crack open the moon. And by the moon, I mean that apex dome. The egg, they're going to try to crack that egg, right? And if they crack that egg, it will temporarily open up and the atmosphere will temporarily depressurize until the firmament seals itself back up, which will not take very long at all. Okay. When that happens, atmospheric depressurization will cause an increase temporarily in buoyancy. It has to. And so it is very feasible, very possible And if this happens, extremely likely that things can and will float for a short period of time. So, is it possible that Project Anchor is actually grounded and rooted in reality and science? Yes, I absolutely for sure believe that. Okay. And I'll come back to that too in just a minute. Let me see what else we got in the chat. We've got Benderson, who says, the Bible says, run to the mountains. Logic tells me that this is for the water. What about the fire one? I'm pretty sure the fire is going to be the same deal. People are going to want to hide underground. So caves, you know what I mean? Bunkers. That's why I believe that the elite are building these bunkers, digging these bunkers out right now as protection from the sun, protection from the fire that is on the way. There's an inferno on the way. And what's the source of the hottest heat here in our world? It's the sun. The sun is going to scorch everything. And it's going to probably get lower and lower, as it has in prior historic records. The sun starts getting lower and lower. Why? Because the focus is getting closer and closer. So the point of focus will get lower and lower. Okay. Whenever the focus is more wide, then the sun actually gets higher and higher, and it gets colder and colder, and that leads to Fimbulwinter, or the Great Winter. But yeah, the sun's going to start scorching the earth here pretty soon. Scorch trials, right? Yeah, so some people will hide in mountains, in bunkers, etc. Yeah. What else we got? Shoop says, yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about there. JCS000 says, JayDreamerZ, it's just X. Okay, the cartoon, the anime. And it's from 1999. Yeah, I see that you like anime. I'm not the biggest anime fan because I didn't really grow up with it. But it does come up in my research from time to time. So maybe I'll check it out sometime. Right now, I'm watching like the live action One Piece with my son. I do like the live action version. So he kind of catches me up on the anime and stuff. Many people have recommended Dr. Stone. Avatar's come up a million times, all kinds of different animes. Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I can't keep track of all the animes. Heather, thanks again. High five to Heather and her family. Gave me the drooly face. What else we got? Let's see. Random user in the chat says, do you read all of the comments after the live stream? Usually, yes. I try to make a point to go back and actually read all of the comments as I rewatch my presentations. For many different reasons. Sometimes I'll go back and, people that need to be blocked will be blocked. People that need to be promoted to moderator will be promoted to moderator. Sometimes I just get a feel for if people were interested in the subject or not, if they liked it or if they didn't like it, just kind of keeping my finger on the vibe or on the pulse of the chat. What else? Kimberly, what's up? Kimberly says, oh, yeah, she's helping out. Okay, thank you, Kimberly. What else we got? Short Season, cool name, says JayDreamerZ. What do you think about Saint Germain and Unveiled Mysteries? Please see LMK. Let me know you saw this. So I have weird feelings about Saint Germain. Let me explain. I don't talk about this a lot because I don't want to seem like conceited. I'll just say that I feel a strong connection with Saint Germain. Okay. Yeah, I vibe with Saint Germain like he's family. What else we got? Ben Foy's in the chat says, Jay, they trying to crack it and escape to avoid the event. What if we don't have caves or bunkers nearby? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think you should do if you don't have caves or bunkers nearby? I think that should be a question you should ponder on and let me know what you come up with. Let's see. Anything else? Unveiled Mysteries. I'm not sure what you're referring to as far as Unveiled Mysteries. Is that like a book or something? What else we got? Why is it not highlighting his name? It highlights on my side, everybody. in my personal chat on my computer, not yours. It highlights for me personally, not for you. All right. What else? What else? Oh, here we go. We got Ostora Dora Devaradas says, JayDreamerZ, you should decode the Pinky in the Brain. Oh my God. Probably not going to decode Pinky in the Brain. It is a classic cartoon. I used to watch, Animaniacs and freaking Looney Tunes and all that stuff. What was that one Looney Tunes? Tiny Toons and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. It does, but I don't really watch cartoons that much anymore. I kind of stick to movies. Video games sometimes, movies, whatever. All right, what else we got? Pakistan says, off topic, but I've been researching old world and buildings and mud floods lately. Seems a lot of old civilizations wiped out, but still some survivors. Very good. What else? What do you think? Oh, okay, I hope I answered your question. Hopefully you got the answer to that. We got Chile Paja says, JayDreamerZ, what's your opinion on the hagiographies of the saints or medieval authors? I think I did a video on that one too. Let me double check for you. Oh, that's not it. I just can't remember the name of it. What did I call it? Saints? Oh, hold on. Let's go to my channel. Let me look. I'm going to look for you real quick, see if we can find it for you. Let's go to the search. And I did not use the word hagiography because that was a new word for me. I had to look that up. But let's type in saints. See what comes up here. Saints. I know I did a video about it. I just didn't realize it was called hagiography. Super. Let's type in super for like superpowers and stuff. I know I talked about the saints somewhere in here. Damn. Miracles? Maybe I typed it. Let's try miracles. I have over 1,000 videos, so I lose track sometimes. Oh, supernatural. Here we go. So this is the one that you'll want to check out. Who is that? Chili Paja. I'm going to take your comment down. This right here, you want to go to my channel, type in medieval supernaturals. And this is going to go over all of the stories, at least the interesting ones from the hagiographies. And this will share with you my perspective and theories on whether or not this was real and stuff. But in short, I believe all of those stories are real. Even if they have been embellished or cartoonified, they have substance to them. Because I believe in superpowers. I believe in the saints having been people who lived in places of power, energetic places of power on Earth, usually underground in cave systems and stuff, hiding from the season of Satan, evil people up above. And they had superpowers. Sometimes they were called Christians, saints, wizards, witches, all kinds of names for these people, but they were people of power from places of power. So yeah, check out that video. I think that will answer a lot of your questions about hagiographies, in my opinion. Let me take this down here. Oh, not that one. Boom, shakalaka. All right. Let's see, who is this? All right, escaping the lie. Do you think the denial in much of the general public about certain agendas has a normal psychological explanation, or is it more supernatural delusion? I think it's natural. I think some people are born sort of less filled with spirit, and they're just kind of running on empty, and they love programming. They love to be told what to do. They love to be told what to think. People who tend to have much more spirit and are just spiritually full or energetically full tend to sort of, be trailblazers and think for themselves and get in a lot of trouble and have more difficult lives and stuff. That's my short answer on that. Short Season says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think about... Oh, I got that one already. What do you think... this is Distraction Factory. That's a cool name. What do you think is the quintessential movie that demonstrates the plasma apocalypse? Oh, man, I couldn't really pick one. There's honestly not one that just stands out and comes to mind like that is the plasma apocalypse. There's many. There are many different movies. that portray elements of the plasma apocalypse. Some portray way more elements than others. You know what I mean? Sometimes a movie will really focus on one element like zombies, or another element like things floating, or sometimes they will combine a few elements like electricity or dragons or things floating or aliens or a mothership, or you know what I mean? All these different things. So I couldn't really pick one because I don't think that that movie has been made yet. But I'm happy to be an advisor on it and get paid to be an advisor on it. I don't know. I think it'd be cool just to make a plasma apocalypse movie. And it should be called that too, the plasma apocalypse. The last movie. That's what it should be. The only movie, really. CJC says, what is your take on the cremated remains ashes during a zombie apocalypse? Since it's ashes, what form would the ashes take? I personally do not believe that ashes are going to turn into zombies. I think that that's why a lot of people were cremated and burned, and why they had funeral pyres and stuff, because they didn't want them coming back as zombies. They wanted to release them so that they could, reincarnate back into a different body, not the same one or whatever. Because I don't see that as a good thing, personally. But yeah, I don't think that when someone is cremated that they can become a zombie or that they can come back. I think that DNA is destroyed and the spirit is truly, released. And therefore, all of the memories that are stored in the DNA and stuff are also released. So that's my take on that. Okay. You might have to rewind the video. But I'll give you another answer just in short. I vibe with Saint Germain. I vibe with the stories of Saint Germain and how he makes an appearance from time to time and stuff. And the stories of where he makes his appearance, especially in places of power like Mount Shasta and volcanoes and cave systems and stuff. I have not heard of Unveiled Mysteries. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but I may have come across it. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Let's see. Hey, thanks. I appreciate you, Moon. And you're good. Don't worry about it. We all make mistakes. All right, let's finish up the presentation for today. And I'm going to talk about the Artemis moon mission. Boom. All right, let's get out of here. That's our live stream. Let's get to... Man, we covered a lot of stuff today, right? I hope this is a better Easter presentation than what you're used to seeing. Than Brand X. I used to do those same types of presentation every Halloween, every Easter, everything. But then I started to see the world with a new perspective, with childlike eyes and wonder at creation and alternative history and stuff. And I escaped. I'm in the process still of escaping mainstream, even mainstream conspiracy theories and stuff. I don't even want to be, I want to break free of all of that. I want to be at the front. I want to be trailblazing. And I have to shift because I've been sitting in a seat for way too long. All right, now let's talk about Artemis and the moon mission and them blowing up the moon. All right, we talked about the apex dome, the portion of the firmament that hangs down from above. I need to have like a visual, so I don't have to keep doing that. But you can imagine, right? The firmament curves up and then it comes down right there and then it goes back, right? You can imagine. All right, that apex dome is a lens, or acts as a lens, because it is made out of, I believe, ice. That's my number one theory, is that it's frozen gases. The light on the other side passes through, projecting this image with all of its little domes or craters, however you want to see those, into our sky. And that gives us the projection that we call the moon, which is a projection. And that's all that it is. It's a light. It is a luminary in the sky. You cannot land on that. You cannot go to that. You can get closer to the projection and it will get bigger. Just like if you go to the movies and you go closer to the screen, which is the projection of the movie, it'll get bigger. You can see more detail and stuff. Yes, definitely. And if you blast off up into the space between here and the dome, yeah, you can get closer to the luminaries for sure, if you have the ability. But you cannot go to the other side of it and see something different, except for a flipped around version of what you see in the front. The front of the moon, the projection, looks just like the back of the moon. They're the same, okay? That's why we only see one side of the moon ever. You will never see a backside of the moon. Not ever. Not one human ever from here to a billion infinite years from now will ever see the dark side of the moon. That is on the other side of the firmament. And it looks just like this side. Okay. You might see it not inverted. This is an inverted image of the apex dome. Okay, it's upside down and it's inverted. So it might look a little different, but it's the same exact, weak spots, craters, domes, however you want to see that. They're going to blow up the moon. That's where I'm coming from. All right. That's what I'm preaching. They're going to blow up the moon. All this NASA stuff, all this Elon stuff, everything about it, all the space programs. There is no looking up into the magic eye, which is the apex dome, which creates the stars, and seeing 3D and off into space and all the planets and all that stuff. That stuff exists in a different form beyond the dome. Okay. So there are no galaxies way out there and all that stuff. Okay. That's our world. You're looking at our world. The moon is a projection of the apex dome itself. So when they say they are going to the moon, they are trying to go to the firmament. Why? They're testing out the boundaries of this world. Why? Because they want out of this world. Or some of them want out of this world. Okay? Because this world builds up pressure and it loses energy from time to time and they can die. They don't want to die. But not all of them feel that way. Okay. Some of the elite and the ruling family, they have families and stuff, and they've become natives. They sort of took over this world. They consider it to be home. So they built bunkers and they've built castles and kingdoms and took over everything. And they put a lot into the development of ruling this world, and they would like to keep it that way. Okay. So them blowing up the moon is not them being evil and trying to kill everybody and what most people blame the elite for doing. They are trying to protect their families, and they are trying to lengthen their rule here on Earth before nature does it naturally, taking it away from them through the plasma apocalypse or depressurization. They don't want all that pressure to build up. They're going to crack open the apex dome, and when they do, you will see the moon, which is a projection of the apex dome. The moon will split, and it has already done this in the past. There are many stories of the moon splitting, not just Muhammad and Islam and that story, but there's many different other stories of people seeing the moon crack and split and have lights on and all kinds of weird stuff. Right? Check out Project Moonblink, by the way, if you're interested in those types of stories. So I have equated and related this Artemis mission to Project A119. Project A119 happened, it was put into effect. The plans were put into motion 10 years before NASA decided to land on the moon and just stick a flag up there and play golf and drive around and do absolutely nothing. Nothing of substance. It looked like a waste of time and money if that's actually what they did. Okay. That's not what they did. That was a cover story. All right. I personally believe that they tricked most of those astronauts into thinking that they went to the moon, which is highly possible. It was a big magic trick. And if they tricked the astronauts, then the astronauts could have plausible deniability or plausible truth-telling, thinking that they actually did go to the moon when they were given drugs and, put into simulators or whatever it was, okay? Some of those astronauts truly believe they went to the moon. I don't believe they went to the moon. And they anyways, I don't want to harp on the subject, but Project A119 was America's plan to nuke the moon, to blow it up with bombs. And they gave no reason at all, except we want to show how strong we are. We want to brag about our nuclear bombs, so we're going to blow up the moon. It's the most ridiculous thing. It's one of the most ridiculous things I could even imagine. It makes no sense. It's not logical. It's not reasonable. It's not scientific. And speaking of scientific, Carl Sagan was the scientific advisor for this particular project. Yeah. The voice of Agent Smith himself, Carl Sagan. Host of Cosmos. popular TV show like on PBS and stuff throughout like the 70s and 80s and stuff. Yeah, Carl Sagan, predecessor of like Bill Nye the Science Guy and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all that stuff. Carl Sagan was one of the lead scientific advisors on a plan to blow up the moon. That plan has not stopped. That was a top secret plan. No one was supposed to know about that, but it was leaked by Carl Sagan, who just is a goofball nerd, and he accidentally leaked this information whenever someone was trying to get his autobiography. He started mentioning stuff he was involved in and he wasn't supposed to. So they said, "Oh, you got us. Okay, but we didn't actually do it. So let's declassify it, etc., etc. We're just going to land on the moon instead." No, man. When they declassify super top secret stuff, they're just changing the story. They're putting the truth out there because it was already leaked, or they knew it would be leaked. And they're just twisting the story and feeding you a bunch of crap, pretending like, "Oh, we gave up on that. We promise. We don't do that anymore." Yes, they do. They still do. Every single thing that they have declassified and tell you, we pulled that project. We're done with that. We don't do that anymore. Yeah, they do. Okay? They still do all of these different projects, but especially this plan to depressurize the Earth, at least for a few minutes, at least for a little bit. They want to depressurize the Earth to mitigate, or to, I should say, one, it's going to mitigate the damage from the sun, okay? Because you're going to lower the temperature across the world, which people are going to be begging for that. So in a way, it's a form of worldwide weather manipulation. You cause a low pressure system across the world due to atmospheric depressurization, and that will help your families out when the sun is scorching the Earth, I would imagine. What else we got? So we got these 4 astronauts. It's always 4 astronauts, right? The 4 pillars reaching up to the apex dome or whatever. So they're allegedly on their way up there right now. Their plan, part 1 of this mission, is to go check it out. They've said this a million times. We're going to look with our eyes. We're going to use our eyes to look at the moon and really look at it. Like they're just getting close to the luminary to look at it. And they're mapping out where the weak spots are. Okay, they're getting a good look. This is a spy mission. Okay, they're sending the spies to go check it out. Now, it's of interest to me. I always thought that this mission would fail. I thought that the Orion would not work. That these people will basically not come back. That's what I genuinely thought and feel. I will be surprised if they come back. Okay, because I thought that Anyways, there was a guy named Wiley Post and Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was a columnist and a comedian back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. Wiley Post was the first man to fly solo around the world, and he helped to invent things like the pressurized suit for high altitude flights and the altimeter and stuff like that. And they had a plane which crashed and killed them both, allegedly. I think that's a whole story. I don't believe that story. But that plane was called Orion. Same as this one, right? Spacecraft Orion. Anyways, this is phase 1. Phase 1 is to go check out the apex dome, if they can get close to it, or maybe just the luminary, which is just a reflection of the apex dome. They just come back, invert the pictures, and they map it out. They decide where to put the bombs on the next flight. They go put the bombs up there, or they land on the firmament if they're able to do so, and they drill into the firmament. They place those bombs in there, and then they come back. And then they send another flight up there. I would imagine they get close enough to detonate them, maybe. I don't know, but phase 3 should be blowing up the moon. Or phase 4, I don't know, somewhere around there. But their plan is to crack open the firmament, or the apex dome. And when they do this, you will see the moon crack. And they will tell you all kinds of reasons for why the moon is cracking. And this is shown to you in about 1 million different movies. That man will crack the moon, that humans are responsible for destroying our own moon, and it will happen. Mark my words. I'm telling you, I'm very confident about that. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty good about it. But that will not cause the plasma apocalypse. That will not cause the apocalypse at all. It will only open up the firmament temporarily because those bombs will create electromagnetic pulses, and that's really what is protecting us, is the magnetism that goes over our world, and it also takes that apex dome shape. If they can get rid of the strong magnetic field, then they can depressurize some of those gases by blowing a hole in the ice, which is why they had all this practice out in Antarctica shooting high altitude explosives up at the dome in projects called Fishbowl and High Jump and Dominic, and you know what I mean? Like, this is the war against the heavens, the dome up above. It's literally what's happening. But they got you supporting them, waving flags, you know, thinking that they're just the heroes of the earth or whatever. You know, and it depends on your perspective, you know. But they are going to cause a mini cataclysm if they do blow up the firmament, if they do succeed. And I think that that's probably what Starlink is too, you know. And let's see. That's about it. Let me jump into the chat, see if you guys have any questions or comments on today's presentation. If you want to know more about Easter, the holidays, the connection to the plasma apocalypse, the doom shape, the Colburn Bible, Artemis, NASA, ancient gods, goddesses, whatever, now is your time. So I'm going to jump into the chat. Yes, do leave me comments, because I'll go through those sometimes and check them out. And occasionally I'll leave voice replies in the comments. If you guys ever leave a super chat or a super thank you in the comments, you know how like you do a super chat here in the live stream? You can also do a super thank you in the comments. You can, send money my way in the comments, and I will give you a voice reply. At the very least, I'll say, hey, thanks, I appreciate it, or whatever. Oh, my earpiece broke. Dang. I don't know where it went. All right, so let me jump back into the chat, see if you guys have anything for me before we wrap things up. Aether, I see Aether in the chat spreading the gossip about Brian Austin Lambert. So let me help to clarify, because I was close to these people and I know people who are even closer to them. Do you guys think Brian Austin Lambert, who used to be a YouTuber, really killed himself, or is there some other theories on what happened? There is about 1 billion theories on what happened. I don't believe in any of them. And yes, I do really believe that he killed himself, and his girlfriend also killed herself. It was a double suicide. He also killed his dog. And that's, you can do your own research and you can believe whatever you like to believe. But, if my word means anything to you, that the official story is the real story. Okay. Unfortunately, that dude took his life and his girlfriend took her life. All right. Question from David Honecker. JayDreamerZ, do you think the firmament is weaker at the apex dome? Yes, I do. I believe that the stronger parts of the dome are the structural sides, the walls to it. And that the weaker point is going to be at the apex. Good question. What else we got? Oh, hey, check you out. Caroline in the chat says, I am amazing with the dancing pear. Hey. Thank you so much for the donation and the super chat. Appreciate you. If you guys want to support me and you don't want to send super chats or whatever, you can always check out my Patreon. I get people on there that just, want to kick me $5 a month or whatever, just to say thank you. Some people join to jump into the credits at the end of each one of my shows. There's other tiers on there too. Some people, I put their name on my website and it just will stay there forever. It's like, a constant support person or whatever. There's my books. Obviously, I'm an author and I write about everything I was just telling you about. I've got 2 different books out right now. Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea, which is my newest book. That one really focuses on the beginning of everything, or the post-apocalyptic world, the places of power, the physical terrestrial paradise at the center of the world, and how the world rebuilds, basically. And then I have Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse, which really is the Cliff's Notes on what to expect during the Plasma Apocalypse. I will give you a heads up and say that I have none of the information about the Apex Dome in the Plasma Apocalypse book, because I hadn't gotten that far yet. So this is all kind of new information for you guys. I got a donation from Ray. What's up, Ray? Thank you. High five. Appreciate you. Good to have you too here, Empress. Thank you for the compliment. Anything else here? What else we got? Electric Camel. JayDreamerZ, I was checking your new show site. Yes, Chasing the Apocalypse. I should probably plug that here in a bit too. I'm hoping to get a diamond ticket at the end of the week when I get paid available. Could you explain it a bit? Is it like a chapter or a season? Yes. So for my new show, Chasing the Apocalypse, I will do some teasers here on YouTube, but in order to watch it, it will be exclusively on my Patreon. I'm going to actually revamp my whole Patreon basically. I'm going to get way more involved in my Patreon with like more videos and stuff like that. But all of the episodes you can find on my Patreon. You'll be able to pay-per-view if you just want to watch one or whatever at a time, or you can sign up for one of the tiers and basically subscribe, in which case it'll unlock the entire like season, or it'll unlock the entire, chapter or whatever. So it's going to be broken up into this particular way. I will go out and visit a particular area of interest, and I will do different video presentations up to about 30 minutes each in that area. About 4 to 6 different presentations, which will be individual episodes. The chapter will be the area that I am visiting. So for example, the first place I will be going is to Washington, D.C. That will be the chapter. So that will be the area that I'm visiting. Then there will be Washington, D.C. will be broken up into episodes. Episode 1, the Smithsonian. Episode 2, the National Mall. Episode 3, the Capitol Building. Episode 4, I don't know what those episodes are going to be. I haven't figured it out yet, but it's something like that, basically. What else? Aether's in the chat says, JayDreamerZ, your word means a lot to me. I believe you have integrity and honor in what you do. My apologies about the question. I was just wondering because I heard a few things. Oh, no, you're totally good. Dude, people, there's always the scuttlebutt of gossip online. Trust me, I've been a part of it. People come up with theories upon theories about everything. And I'm not going to tell you what to think, you know what I mean? But when I do know something, and if I have personal experience with like whatever the gossip is, I'm always going to just tell you guys, here's where I am on it. Here's my experience. You're welcome. Hey, thank you for being on my Patreon. I appreciate it. I have a chat on my Patreon where you guys can upload pictures, talk to each other. There's all kinds of conversations that are happening right now on my Patreon. About all kinds of different things, and I'm reading them all. I love checking out you guys' chats on my Patreon. Can't wait to see the ceiling in DC. Yep, I'm definitely going to film that. Antonio, you're welcome. And to everyone else, until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
In a time when an ancient cataclysm is about to return, one book holds the key to unlocking the biggest secret in all of history. JayDreamerZ presents Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. Study it, and you'll discover the very real details behind the reoccurring event that resets civilizations and reshapes the entire world. Bridging the gap between fiction and fact, this book is a must-have for all truth seekers. Then in his second book, you'll learn about the one place of refuge from this world storm. You'll explore the ends of the earth, find the fountain of youth, and envision yourself enveloped in the vapor canopy. In Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea, available now. Order direct from JayDreamerZ and receive your very own autographed copy. Go to JayDreamerZ.com for more information on our Ancient Oblivion and the Plasma Apocalypse, and sign up for a free 24-hour cram session with a complimentary day pass. The end is near, so order now before it's